welcome to Next Topic Podcast. The only rule is to stay on topic, and no topic is off limits. My name is Lo.
My name is Shad.
I'm Cam.
And I'm Nateblackout.
How with that voice?
Yes.
I'm Nateblackout.
Y'all cracked and shit.
On today's episode, we have a very special guest. We invited our friend Nate to join us
The
because
real Nateblackout.
Yes, God.
because on today's episode, we're going to be talking about reparations, and Nate has some very strong opinions about reparations.
I love reparations, show.
But before we get into the topic of the day, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with some hot topics?
Yes, let's get into some more hot topics.
Oh, so you ain't been watching.
Right? Anyway.
It be your own people.
We're your own people. Your own best friend child.
Right.
Anyway, so, hot topic number one. Oprah,
Oh, yes.
the Prince,
I love it.
and Meghan, the Duchess of Westover.
Sussex.
Of Sussex.
West
So, Oprah sat down and did an interview with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And they just talked about their life as being royals and shit like that and why they left and shit like that. But
Shit like that.
but the key was, the biggest part that Twitter went a buzz about was when Meghan said that some of the royal family or royal court was concerned over the skin complexion that could be of the baby.
Say their name to keep it on the playground.
That's all we're saying.
What?
Right. So Meghan mentioned that some of people in the royal family was concerned that Archie's little baby name
Yeah.
could be of a darker skin tone.
How?
But Harry didn't marry Monique.
Who's Monique?
Shaquanda.
Oh, Nate, that is
Nate!
rude.
Whatever.
That's another topic we need to talk about, child.
Whatever. He didn't marry. He married Megan.
But yes, it was.
I have some dark Megans.
Do you?
Yeah.
Wait,
The
stop. That's
stallion.
another topic. Yes, that interview. Yeah, there was a lot of little
I can't
snippets
believe
going
they-
really viral there, and
You know Dark
mainly my takeaway was
Right.
Cameron and
Ooh.
Nate
No, not Cameron Rashad and Nate.
was really about how fearful of blackness, you
Mhm.
know,
The
the
royal.
Archie is
royalists
3/4
and the
white.
royal, like the people who are
That's
supportive of the royal family are like a lot of the headlines and articles and things that they put out while they were still fulfilling their royal duties was crazy. Like they were pictures of like, oh, this is them leaving the hospital. The baby's a monkey,
Right.
and like.
I
Yeah.
didn't see that.
Yeah,
I
they
saw
had
it,
no,
yeah.
like it was very bad. And then a lot of the headlines, it would be Kate might have done something, let's say when she was pregnant, and then same thing
The
for
man.
Megan, and the
Right.
headline was totally
Right.
different. Why is she doing this? Like just very much vilifying her because of what?
Black, like being afraid of blackness. essentially.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It was
but
pretty
for
obvious.
what reason? Because the baby is gonna be 3/4 white, and like, and even if the baby was gonna come out dark as me or darker, right? Like, that's an opportunity for you to embrace multiculturalism, embrace biracialism, embrace that, and because for the first time ever, and they're likable.
But
You
they
know-
don't want that.
No, but like for the first time, like they're likable, so it's like it looks bad on you to not embrace that. So I
It
understand.
may look bad on them, but who gonna take over?
I-
Who
no,
gonna check them, huh?
Understand? I understand that, but it's like it was an opportunity for them to say, oh, you know, we're embracing black people or embracing
But
biracialism
They didn't
or
even
whatever.
have to go that far.
They had to
That's the
say
thing.
that.
They didn't even have to go that far.
Right.
They could have done the bare minimum, which would have been to denounce what the media was doing, right? To
Right.
say,
Mhm.
you know what, you
Right.
guys need to back off. Like we
well,
don't
Megan
support
said that they're in control of the media.
That's
or
all they
have
had
a
to
say.
say.
Yeah.
They didn't have to say, "Oh, we love black people." They didn't have to say none of that. All they had to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
was like, "We don't support this. We don't like
Right,
that. I
right.
need you guys to support them."
Right.
Period.
Period.
Done.
Point blank. Okay, let's go to the next hot topic.
We get on forever.
Because that's another.
That's a
that's-
topic.
yeah.
That's a whole nother topic. So the other topic we're going to talk about today as a hot topic is the Uber girls. So,
Oh Lord.
I still know about the Uber girls.
you know what Uber
So
girls
let me
so?
know.
You didn't see the video?
So, in the Bay Area, to give
Mhm.
you a little background story. So, 3 girls in the San Francisco Bay Area, I don't know where they were specifically here,
I think they were in the city.
assaulted an Uber driver.
I did not hear about this.
With
Yeah.
a deadly weapon.
Right.
Her breath.
This is recent?
Just a couple of days ago.
Oh wow.
Coronavirus.
Right. So allegedly, the story is, from what I can gather from my multiple sources.
Uh-huh.
So it was 3 girls, 2 black ones, and like I believe a Persian girl.
Yep.
Was in an Uber driver. I guess he was like dropping them off, and he was like, they was like, we trying to go somewhere else. And he was like, well, I'm trying to go home, so can you call another Uber? Can you get out and call another one?
Yeah,
and they was like, no, we're not getting out because like we don't know exactly where we are, and we're females, and we shouldn't have to like sit out here and wait.
Mind you, it's the middle of the day.
Right, it is.
So it's not 7 p.m.
No.
Or 8 or 9.
No, it was sunny bright outside.
Yeah.
So Uber driver was like,
High noon.
you need to get out because I'm trying to go home. That's like, well, we're going home with you. So they drive in, and then it was like, oh, you're kidnapping us. You're kidnapping us. So,
Oh my God.
And then he pulled over on the side of the freeway. He's like, well, then get out. Get out. And they was like, no, we're not getting off the side of the freeway. What you mean? And they start like attacking him.
Oh my God.
They take off his mask. They start like coughing on him, like punching him. And at some point, this all on video.
Yeah.
I did not see any of this.
Some parts, like, they even say like they one girl maced him or whatever.
Oh, I missed the maze.
Yeah, I didn't actually see the mace, but they did like mention like one of the girls did mace him. And then like also you see like the live from like one of the Persian girl, and also in the video you see like her using the N-word throughout the entire video,
well,
and that
I know all I need to know.
yeah, that's all.
There was one detail you left out that I had initially heard. It was, I think some of the issues started with one of them not wearing a mask too.
Right.
And he asked them, like to get a mask. He was like, oh, we don't have one. You got extras. And like, cause from the initial clip I saw, she's like, well, never mind the mask. And she was saying all these expletives.
I
and all
got
this stuff.
coronavirus anyway.
Yeah, and like they were dead. It was so like the other girls were like just kind of egging it on and like laughing.
here
It was
in
like
the
that's
area.
Yeah,
not,
this is in the Bay Area.
it's not cute. But okay, so because I love to do a little digging and
We know.
and anyways, and in the comments people was like find her, and so like they had
I
the
went to her
girl say. So
Instagram.
I went to her
Yeah.
Instagram
Yeah.
too, and it's so funny. She's got all this Gucci, Prada, Louis, right? And in
Like
her
Gucci?
story, she's like, I wasn't getting out the car because you're like, middle of the day. I'm not getting out of the car because I had all this drip on me.
Mind you, she looked like a damn crackhead.
Cameron.
She did. She looked rough. She had a rough night. Her hair was fucked. Her makeup was trash.
She did look disheveled.
Sis was fucked.
But it was just,
Your hair's
and
uneven.
You
look
look
dusty.
Her hair, her makeup.
It was so uncalled for.
Yeah, so now she's saying she's like suing Uber and stuff like that.
She gonna lose.
So it's just a lot of I ain't keeping you updated, but Google it and it just lets you
But it's
know
all on
that
video.
It's
Yeah.
all on video. You
It's
can
on her page too.
multiple angles. So if he's recording in, they are too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so
wow.
you have like multiple angles, multiple videos.
You know they say there's 2 sides to every,
Yeah.
3 sides, right?
Totally.
We seen the 2.
We've seen 3.
I really have
But
not
one
seen
thing I
this.
will say is
Before we move on.
all the drivers aren't always innocent, but from what I saw, I felt like the driver
He
did
handled
what
it
they
pretty
were
well.
supposed to do.
Right.
You know?
And they tried to
She
take his
removed
phone.
his mask.
And she tried to
Yeah.
take his
His
phone
phone.
from the thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Dashboard.
But this also ties into like the whole thing we voted on back in November about like, does Uber, are they employees? Are they independent contractors? Like, are they protected? Or are they not protected? Because it's like,
They're not.
I haven't seen the
protected.
video, but it's like, are they protected? Like,
No.
No.
it could look crazy. Like
That's
they're
why a
not.
lot of them record their
Yeah.
rides.
Yeah.
Just so they can have
And good
something
thing that he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they also should let people know you're gonna be recorded. That's a whole different situation.
Another
Yeah.
topic.
Right, another
Yeah.
topic. So let's get into the topic for today,
Okay.
which
Reparations.
is reparations.
I love
40
reparations.
acres and a mule.
Exactly.
And then some.
And then so, oh, okay. We get into like more specific a little bit later. But can someone explain to me what is reparations?
Nathaniel.
Oh,
Okay. So I will.
In your opinion.
In my opinion, reparations is, it is like a check. Like I want a cash payment for reparations because it's an apology, but also reparations is not just a cash payment. It is also a formal apology from the federal government.
wait,
for me.
sorry. Did you want to know like generally or do you want to know what do you want for
Generally.
reparations?
No, so for
Yeah,
me, reparations is you are trying to repair a damage that you have done to a certain people
yes.
for a certain action or whatever. So for me, it is cash because. And
Well, let's get to what you want for you.
We'll get to it, but
Yes.
it is cash.
Not we'll get to it and then continuing.
It is cash. It is cash, child.
It's cash, y'all.
It is cash.
Clearly.
But it is also a formal apology, like a written statement of apology. And then it also is some other things I'll get into later on. But
Right. Do you guys have a different understanding or different view of what reparations is?
No. I think it's very much so like you taking steps to right a wrong.
Right or
Yeah.
wrong?
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
So some would say it's a variety of different definitions of like what reparations should include, but most will say reparations is like undoing some wrong that has been committed in the past
Totally.
and trying to like take steps to like fix what has been done in the past.
Right.
So specifically today, in forms of reparations, like what we're going to be talking about is reparations in the United States in terms of African Americans. Because there has been in the world different forms of reparations
Absolutely.
in like other countries, and even in this one,
Yep.
reparations has been done before, which we
For
will
other
get
races.
into.
We'll get into that
Yeah,
too.
we'll get into that in a second. But specifically, we're going to be coming from the viewpoint of Blacks and African Americans because we are Black.
In the United States.
In the United, I say African Americans.
Oh, you did. Okay. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
African Americans in the United States. I guess it could be some niggas somewhere else.
Oh, not niggas.
That's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it to be noted that we will also get into the 40 acres and the mule
Oh, we getting in that ass.
dialogue today as well.
Okay.
So what reparations could be payments, monetary or otherwise, given to a group that has suffered some form of harm. So there has been some talks and debates about reparations since 1865 when it was first brought up, and at this point there has not been any form of reparations for African Americans at the moment. So our goal today, by the end of it, we need to come to a consensus of what we think reparations should be for African Americans.
Wait, all of us agree?
Yes, all of us
Wow,
agree.
that's gonna be
Oh,
tough.
wow.
I know, so that's the goal, and we got approximately.
Well, it's cash.
So we got about a good 15 to 20 minutes
Cash rules everything
to try
around
to
me.
get it out.
Oh.
So before we get into it, let's talk about reparations in the 40 acres and the mule, which was brought up first. So who knows the story behind the 40 acres and the mule?
I don't.
I will. Okay, so I got stats too, but
Okay, go.
basically, what had happened was,
Uh-huh.
Well,
in
what
general
had
terms, is that when Abraham Lincoln was president, there was a promise about 40 acres and a mule for the enslaved people or descendants thereof. It was 400 acres distributed across a number of people. I don't know all the numbers exactly. But basically, in the 40 acres and a mule, he died. Andrew Jackson, I think it was, basically became president afterwards and reneged on that and said, "We're not doing that."
Reneged. Literally.
Reneged. Reneged. And he said, "We're not doing that." And Black people didn't get what they were promised and owed. That 40 acres and the mule has been talked about a lot because there is a value placed on that for sure, but people are debating whether we are talking about the price of 40 acres legitimately or 40 acres plus unpaid labor.
Right. Okay, so let's go into like the 40 acres and the mule. So that comes from it was a Union General Sherman in 1865 who met with the president
Exactly.
to discuss what this could be. So today we commonly use the phrase 40 acres and a mule, but there's a real order out there that someone has written to order to get this. And there's three main parts that's relevant here. Section 1, it's the islands from Charleston, South Carolina, and those rice fields were the designated area for the Black people to get it. I believe it was 400,000 acres.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Split
yes.
between 20,000 people.
That's exactly what it was.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right, and also part of that order itself was like these new communities will be governed entirely by Black people themselves. And also, one of the final sections is each family should have a plot of land not more than 40 acres of tillable ground. Because like all those people who it was, they all get 40 acres.
Yeah, it was in 40 parcels.
Right. The mule part came later. When people was like, we'll need something in order to like till the land with.
Right.
So like give us a mule.
Yeah.
It wasn't like exactly, so that kind of shortened it to the phrase we commonly know today as like 40 acres in a mule. Because like this order itself wanted to give some of that land in the South back to Black people. But as Nate mentioned before, that didn't happen. They came back and reneged and gave the land back.
Reneged?
To the Confederates, who the people who started the war in the first place.
Yeah.
So that is where the 40 acres in the mule stems from.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments, critiques, concerns?
No.
Okay. So to help us prepare for the discussion, I think it's important to talk about other forms of reparations that have happened
for other people
in the past for other people.
Ready.
Let's talk about two of them that's like pertinent.
Jewish and Japanese people.
Yes.
Yes.
So Lauren, let's
You the one with the notes.
Get into it.
Right. So in terms of the Jewish people in Germany, they received reparations for the crimes committed to them during World War II from Hitler. So basically, I don't know the specific facts in there. They were giving some lump of money.
$89 billion. Billion with a B.
And
89.
Right. It was also issued a public apology. And also
Formal apology from the federal government.
Right. And
also, don't Holocaust survivors get a certain amount of money? Like
they do.
They were paid a certain amount of money every year.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's continuing.
Right. And also like monuments and things were like taken down that could be was part of like Nazi Germany, took them down, so people have to look at all that shit.
Relive that.
Yes.
Right.
So that was one form of reparations that happened.
Yep.
And another one was, as Lauren mentioned, the Japanese people.
Yep.
From also the war, because they were put in
internment.
I think it's
camps.
important to note that like Germany obviously wasn't here, but the Japanese was here in the United States, so there is precedent for.
And we put them in internment camps.
Exactly.
Right, we put them in internment camps. So the basis of that, the U.S. government but issued a formal apology to the Japanese as well for like putting them in the camps. They also received, those people put in the camps received $20,000 as well.
1.6 billion again with a B. 1.6 billion in total.
And they received cash payment for like years when they could continue to find out like who was affected, and it reached up to like billions of dollars paid from the U.S. government.
Research
Right, and I think another form of reparations, which is more recent from the U.S., that I just found out, the city of Chicago.
Yes.
I also learned this.
Yes.
Yeah, I learned this today. Is also doing their own form of reparations. It's like, so qualifying residents will get $25,000 to use towards home ownership, home improvements, and mortgage assistance. It's also a qualification process. So residents might either have lived or been a direct descendant of a Black person who lived in this Chicago suburb between 1919 and 1969, who suffered discrimination in housing because like city policies and practices and things like that. And they will vote on that on March the 22nd, I believe. So we are like doing another form of reparations on a smaller scale, even though some people in Chicago are saying like that is not enough.
It's not enough, and I think voting on it is
wrong. It should just happen.
It should just happen.
Because voting on it has a potential to not pass or not happen.
And people have, this is another topic.
But also, voting does.
You gotta vote.
It does also give way
but
to
we didn't have rights for voting.
The reparations themselves.
Another thing for reparations, we didn't have rights for voting. So you get to vote on what I get now because my ancestors were enslaved. So I just think like it's another topic, but I really do think voting is fair, but also we didn't get to vote for hundreds of years. We didn't have rights. We weren't people. We were literally the economy. And so I feel like when you talk about reparations, it should just happen. It shouldn't be a
especially
vote.
on subjects that we couldn't vote
But
on.
we
one
could
question
not
I have
vote
for
on it.
that specific reparation plan, who wrote it?
Oh, who? I don't know.
The reason I asked it is because like
Mike
you don't
Jones.
want things to get voted on, right? And you're saying like,
How can that happen though?
hmm?
People gotta vote on stuff.
I know, but I'm saying like
Oh.
if you're just gonna say, you know what, write it up, present it to us, make it happen. Like there's no opportunity there to make it better. Like because here's the thing, my fears. Someone presents a reparation, we're doing it. That's it. You black people, you be satisfied. We gave you your reparations. It's done. You get what I'm saying?
I hear that.
Versus pushing back and saying this is not enough.
But for me, it's I hear you, and I don't disagree with you. But for me, it's also like black people, black Americans do deserve something, and something in a sense is better than nothing. I don't want to say we should just settle, but I also think like if we're gonna go this road of we're not gonna vote on it, and if we're gonna approve it, like I do think we just like we should lay down and take it, but have been studies about what 40 acres and a mule does mean in today's dollars. There have been studies about what people should get because 40 acres and a mule in slavery, it's compounded itself into Jim Crow. It's compounded itself into all these things,
Exactly.
and so
Right.
what that monetarily would look like. And so I don't think we should just lie down and take it, but I do think there shouldn't be a vote on it because it should just happen because it's the right thing to do in order to make race relations in this country better. Not the best, but better.
I agree it's the right thing to do to make it happen. However, who are the right people to craft those reparations? Because honestly, I feel like the point you made, Nate, with Jim Crow and everything that has happened since slavery, I feel like we're beyond the point of some one-time payment. You know, like
Oh yeah.
I don't think money actually solves our problems because
You don't think it
No.
solves part of a problem?
No, I think
I
it
think
needs to be
money's
like
great.
property, something that can have longevity. Money can be spent and given back to the government in an instant.
Oh, before we get to details of what we want for reparations,
Okay.
because
Okay.
y'all get into it, so we can like look at both sides of the coin
Right.
first. So look at some pros and some cons to reparations from procon.org, right?
okay.
You know, I love my little website. So pro number one, slavery led to giant disparities in wealth that should be addressed with reparations, which you guys are saying now.
Right.
A con to that is no one currently living is responsible for righting the wrongs committed by the long dead slave owners.
No, but you are carrying with you the traditions that they established and upholding the systems that they created.
Right.
So you
And,
are kind
and
of
not only that, but everyone, including all of us sitting here, are benefiting off the backs of 250 years of slavery. We all benefit from that. And so, while, yes, no one here living is directly responsible, we are all reaping the benefits. And it was on our ancestors' backs. And you cannot pay them because they are deceased.
So you saying pay us?
For us.
Correct.
And then their descendants should pay for it.
Why not? They benefit
Because-
from it the same way we do.
But like, it's
not the same way, better.
Better. Thank you. Even better.
what I think, it's some things there to unpack. But another pro to it is slavery left African American communities at the mercies of a slave's health deficit, which should be addressed with reparations as well.
But again, my thing is, it's not just slavery. It is Jim Crow. It is Black Wall Street. It is the 50 acres in New York that was torn down to create Central Park. It is all of those things. It is even today when it's all the residual effects of slavery. So yes, we have equal rights and we are equal people in quotation marks, but it's all the government needs to apologize.
Right. Well,
And
I think
need
the
a
point
check.
you're making too, Nate, is it's not reparations for slavery because you have all these other incidents and
Yeah.
institutions that are themselves descendants of slavery.
Yeah, it's
so
stemmed from-
it's reparations for those things themselves too, right?
Exactly.
right. And then some other people say like the idea of reparations is demeaning to African Americans and will further divide the country along race lines.
I don't think so.
No,
I'm not demeaned by
I
it.
like that.
Right, because I'm like, they said reparations would require the country to put a literal price on the cost of
I hear it.
of reparations. Like,
Yeah.
how can this dollar amount suffice what you have been through? It's like
yeah.
somebody like.
But that's another
like-
reason why I feel like the money. It's like we're beyond that, and it's not. It's never going to be enough.
right, and then also
correct.
in that, like, who is then in also this argument? It's like, who is black
Mm-hmm.
and who is not.
I can tell you right now.
Right.
And what happens to people who are mixed race?
Right. Yeah. So it deserves. So it's like really being specific about your race and like what you should get and how black you are.
And see, and if it goes that way, I can see how that can put a divide, even just in the black community itself, going and feeding into colorism.
And it can, but also like again, the studies and the people who I haven't studied this, but the people who have studied this have said, you know, yes, you need to have a direct descendant to an enslaved person, first of all, and second of all, you need to have self-identified as a Black or African American person for X number of years.
Rachel Dolezal.
But like, yeah, for sure. But it's like, yeah, but has
she's been black for about 10 years.
She don't have a descendant. She's not a descendant.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that part. But it's like, yeah, if you are, let's use Drake's baby, for example, he's a baby or he's a toddler or whatever, but like, is he gonna identify as black? Is he gonna identify as whatever?
Canadian.
And Canadian,
You
exactly.
could be black Canadian.
No.
No,
We're talking about reparations
in
in the
America.
U.S. Yeah.
But he could say, oh, you know, I grew up in the U.S. or whatever, and
I still face based on what you're saying about Jim Crow.
But I guess his
could say all of
dad,
that.
because his dad was from the South, and so then
exactly.
who knows where
So
his dad.
I do think it's important to have
Drake's
both
dad.
pieces.
Yeah.
I do think it is important to have like the self-identify part of it if you are able to self-identify, like if you're old enough, I guess. But I think it's also important to have like the direct descendant, because.
But it was also hard to prove.
And what's direct?
It is hard to prove, and African American people or non-descendants of enslaved people have also faced discrimination because they group us all the same.
Right. Okay. So before we get into it, we all were tasked to come up with what we think our reparations wish list to be.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to come up with any type of dollar amount or anything type of that. It's just like the things that you would like to see in reparations.
Yes.
So we can come to a consensus of like what we think.
This is a little bit easier than what I thought it was gonna be, but okay.
Okay. Okay. So let's start with you, Cameron.
Yes.
So
I was ready to go, child. Go ahead.
I've actually been thinking about this, and it's kind of hard to like exactly say what form or what I would feel is okay as far as reparation goes.
Right.
Because one, I feel both ways about it in the effect that yes, I feel like we deserve reparations, but then also in the effect that how has it truly directly affected us to the way it affected them? You know what I'm saying? So are we really getting this monetary apology when we didn't really go through it? Yeah, we had the effects of it and the back end of it, but we didn't go through the shit. You know what I'm saying? So I feel both ways about it. But I'm also not going to say no to some free shit. So I would say for me, it's land. Something that I can build longevity on, not a half an acre or some shit like that. I need something where I could build sustainable life and generational wealth for me and mine to go forward, so it can continue to pay me and my family.
Tillable land.
So I do think an aspect of it is land, home ownership, something. I should never see no black person on the street homeless and
Ever.
begging for
Period.
food. That's how I feel. But for me, the one thing that I think is most important, because I do believe knowledge is power, I don't think any black person should ever have to pay for a quality education.
I agree.
And that's from K through grad school and
Mm-hmm.
advanced degrees and
beyond.
everything
Or
else.
masters. I mean, go
That's what
all
I'm
the
saying.
way.
Any advanced
Masters,
degrees,
PhD, whatever.
all of that. For me, that's the key thing, because that then opens doors to everything else. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that has to be dismantled, because whether you're an MD, PhD, whatever, no one really gives a shit at the end of the day. Racism doesn't care about your degrees.
Correct.
But I do think having that sort of power gives you the freedom to call the shots if you want to, set up your own communities, build your own house. You know, like you have that knowledge to do those things, and that's, you can't put a price tag on that.
I agree.
What I said, mine's like, I got 3 different things on mine. I said the first one is like a more formal apology from the U.S. government for slavery. I know the U.S. House of Representatives issued one like 2008, but I want like a real formal apology from
From who though?
a white president of the United States.
So if Joe Biden gave it, you'd be okay.
I
Yes.
wouldn't be personally.
I would. I'm like, I don't expect all of them to come up one by one and say it.
Yeah.
Like the leader of the free world, whatever the fuck they call it.
But it has to be white, so it couldn't have been Barack.
It could have been Barack. I would think Barack ain't necessarily that much African American anyway.
It's not.
So
What does that mean?
I'm like Kenyan and his mom was white. So from American standpoint, you look at the American bloodline, his mom was white. So like in some categories of like him receiving
Reparations.
yeah, like the descendant of slaves thing. I
he
get
don't
it, but
get
like
no money.
He
So
lived
He don't get no
here.
money.
He don't get
I'm
no
just saying,
money.
like he lived here, so like that would therefore make him an African American.
Well, I understand your
Okay.
criteria.
No. I'm talking about African American. If we're saying African American,
Right,
like
yeah,
he was.
but
I'm not talking about his parents, but like he.
But I wouldn't
was an
say
American,
I wouldn't say he's
black,
African American.
so
I would say he is looked at as black. But I consider black and African American two different things.
So
Personally.
how's he not African American when his daddy is African and he's
Born
an
in
American?
America.
Yeah.
He is African American.
Okay, but
I would say
Cameron, you.
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
I'm here.
I would say
Okay,
he's looked
but
at-
go
oh,
ahead.
okay,
Wait,
yeah,
you were
okay.
saying
Right. I said, and then the second thing was that
Apology
the
from the
formal like removal of like racist monuments, galleries, landmarks, and stuff like that. I think is crucial as well
Yeah.
in this process. And I didn't get into the details, but like some sort of like compensation of some sort is, I do believe, because I don't like necessarily think it has to be land, but I do think like give you enough compensation so if you want some land, you can buy it. So I do think like some compensation of some form.
See, the only reason I like don't agree with the monetary money of giving you that so you can buy land is that land then didn't cost the same as it does
100%.
now. So they can give you whatever money they want to, and you still couldn't be able to
100%.
afford land to create generational wealth for yourself and your family.
For
I
me,
understand that.
it's I understand the importance of land, and I don't disagree with you in that aspect. I think I want the monetary value in what land would have been. So again, going back to the 40 acres and what they had agreed upon, like I don't necessarily want 40 acres. Like yes, that'd be awesome. I wouldn't turn it down, but I want the monetary value and what land that.
So
land
you
is.
want the monetary value what 40 acres was worth then?
Yeah.
You getting
then or
nuts?
now, like
Yeah,
now
I'm saying-
with
No,
inflation
now.
and
Okay,
everything.
okay.
Now.
Yeah, I was saying you getting
Now.
next to nothing.
No, now what it would be worth.
Yeah.
I don't need 40 acres in my personal.
Okay, before we
Yeah.
argue
But
about
no,
40 acres, can
no,
he
no.
go to what he wants first, and then
Okay,
we can argue
yeah,
about
go
each
ahead.
specific
So
thing?
I want monetary value.
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna turn down land. But then I wrote down a few things also. So I agree with you in terms of like education. I agree with all those things. Like we need real and at the federal level. Like all these things, especially in the last year that happened. Like Mississippi is doing this and Massachusetts is doing this and New York has done this. Like that's great. I need at the federal level to say these are things that we are implementing
Nationwide.
nationwide, period, point blank, in terms of healthcare, education, land, and I need a check. I need a check because I don't need a check, but like my family, like there's a whole racial wealth gap in how white families have, I think it's like 7 or 8 times the amount of wealth as the average black family. My family wasn't able to do certain things. They had to sacrifice certain things to buy a house. I was raised in the hills, but that set them back a certain amount because they had to do certain things. And I just think those are things that are necessary. So I would say healthcare policies, education policies, a check and land are bare minimum in terms of beginning to repair the damage that have been done to the black community at large in this country.
So the policies, the one issue I have there is because, and I'm not saying this because everyone should not benefit from that, but everyone benefits from that. And I feel like for the reparations that we need to receive, it needs to be specific and focused on us because right now the playing field, it's uneven. If everyone's benefiting from some policy, it's still like this.
Oh, I think his policy was specifically for us.
Oh, I don't, okay.
Like
I-
your education policy.
Yeah.
I literally mean
No.
black people.
Oh, like mine.
And
So
I
just
also don't
black
think we should
people.
pay
Oh, okay,
taxes. I don't think we should do a lot of shit, honestly.
Right.
Like I don't think we should have to pay taxes, have to pay into anything because also it's not only that black people were not paid and black people built the country. It's also black people were literally the currency.
Yeah.
And white people were paid when enslaved people when they died. When enslaved people ran away, they were paid a loss of wages. Like it's not
commodity.
They were commodities. So I think it's all of that. So I do think we need to check. I do think there should be specific things to, yes, if black people should not have to do X, Y, and Z. I hate paying taxes. I shouldn't have to pay taxes. My ancestors built this fucking country.
Right. Go.
Well, the only thing I was gonna say about the 40 acres and a mule, like why I don't want that, like that's pennies compared to what we're actually owed. The reason why I feel that is when they decided 40 acres and a mule, they knew the ramifications of slavery then. They couldn't foresee everything that would play out after that. So that racked up. So that ticket.
I will say that
yeah.
Even last year, I forget his name and I didn't have it written down actually, but they said the total amount would look like something like $14 trillion.
Yeah, like $14 trillion.
With a T.
The
14
US
trillion.
deficit is 16 trillion.
And
that
that includes 40 acres a mule. In today's dollar. That includes loss in wages, the currency of a black person. That includes Jim Crow and discrimination. That includes education. That includes everything. It looks like $14 trillion what they're estimating. It could honestly be more. We will never know. I don't think we will never know should stop us from trying something.
Right, yeah, trying something. So like our goal is today, us for human beings, is to come to a consensus on like what we think it should be. I believe we are on par with like apology.
Yeah.
For sure, an apology.
Right. I think that's probably the only thing.
I need a formal apology.
Right. And some type of like monetary payment.
Yeah, compensation.
Compensation.
Some sort of compensation. Yeah.
Right.
I'm not against an apology. I'm sorry. I'm not against an apology.
But you don't need one.
It just doesn't carry much value to me. Like I don't like it doesn't have much weight to it when to the point that y'all made at the outset about like these people apologizing today aren't the people directly responsible for slavery, and I don't feel like they really like a lot of people don't feel that. So I'm like, well, what are you apologizing for?
Right.
And I think
I would rather you apologize for the way things are today.
For me, it's an acknowledgement of wrongdoing. So yes, people like Joe Biden is not responsible for slavery or any of that stuff. But for me, it's an acknowledgement. Like it's for like.
Bernie was like,
you are acknowledging that like there was a wrongdoing that took place,
right? And
for me, from the federal government, that is important for me because it's the same thing like how they admitted the FBI killed MLK. That's important to me.
Not Jay.
Not Jay.
I was like, I didn't know that.
Okay, so I
it's
agree.
more the acknowledgement instead of the apology.
The U.S. government is apologizing. I think you put too much value on the person.
No,
I need the government to apologize.
To me, the best apology from the government is to make sure that what we teach to children in the schools accurately reflects what actually happened.
But so
that is acknowledging the wrongdoing. Because right now
Lauren,
they sugarcoat that shit.
But for me, Lauren, a formal apology from me includes like this is documented, this is written down, this is going to be taught to the kids in school.
Okay.
If you
that don't mean it will be taught to the kids in school.
Because that's what I really want.
But also like again back to my federal whatever laws or whatever. Like I just need it to come from the top down because
the law don't work like that.
Yes, I'm just saying like if the federal government says it, like I just want it to be documented somewhere.
I'm just letting you know it don't mean the states won't do it. The federal government said wear masks.
Yeah.
It don't mean Texas will wear masks.
Of course.
It has to come to me for the
bottom up. Yeah.
For me, it's not the bottom up either. Because Texas can do whatever they want, and we can do whatever we want in California.
But that's what I'm saying. If you start from the bottom up, if it starts in the states.
Yeah, but there's 50 of us.
Yes, I'm not 50.
So it's
I think
so
probably
my thing is
it's all of it at
for me. If what's his face in Texas says it, like okay, but it's more important for me if Joe Biden says it.
It's more important for me. Texas say it. I'm like, it's
me.
If all them southern states say it,
Texas and Florida.
That's not all the southern states. That's Texas.
If Texas, Georgia, Louisiana, all them niggas say, I'm good.
It don't mean nothing. California says it.
All the Confederate states, where all that shit was happening.
Right. Okay. Anyway. Okay.
That's another topic.
An apology of some sort. We agree
I need a federal apology.
Right.
For sure.
Right. I think
Because Texas didn't kill MLK.
Okay, we don't know that.
Wait, go ahead.
Right. Okay. So we agree with some
I'm
sort of
tripping.
apology from somebody in some
Yeah.
way, shape, or form. So let's go
Federal.
into
Confederate.
And a check.
right. Okay. Into the monetary value that we want to play, because this episode is running longer and we're gonna continue going because we have more to say. Okay. The education piece, I don't agree with the education piece that you two said.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Tell me why, please.
Because
Oh, my God.
I just think that won't. Because I think if we give education to black people, we're just going to give it to everybody else, too. I think we're gonna make education free for black people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which you're already trying to make education free for everybody already, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about everybody, though.
I know you don't. But I'm just saying.
I know you don't give a fuck about people.
I think in doing that, they will just make education free for everybody.
That's what I was saying about the
But it
healthcare
shouldn't
policy.
stop
Yeah.
you from doing shit for black people.
I know, but it's not just for black people then. If I do it black people education, let's give it to everybody then. Free education for all, free healthcare for all.
No, they're never going to do that because they're not going to do it for us to begin with. And it costs more money to do it for everybody than it just does for black people. Because there's more people in the country.
Right, but we take that approach, the conversation won't be a thing.
I
because
disagree,
if we
but
play a monetary,
another topic.
Well, it's the same one. But, so that's why I agree with the education piece. I think more can be done otherwise. I give him more.
Well, I guess the only thing I would say, and Cameron, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that a lot of children of military personnel, they get free education,
A lot of-
right?
Yeah, they
So,
pay
and
for our
that's
school, but
specific.
they only do it for so many months.
Yeah.
And so basically, they do it for the amount of time it would be to get a 4-year education, but not realizing that a 4-year education is really not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
True.
So
So taking some sort of similar approach, but regardless, I feel like you still can give black people free education.
Right.
So like I said, K through your first advanced degree.
Just the first one?
Or a second.
Yeah. Let's say the first advanced
first
degree.
one.
I think that's a good step.
Right. Okay. So I think we agree on variety of different things. The question is how we decide or dictate
who
That's
gets
where my
what?
mind
who
explodes.
gets this compensation
I don't
or
know.
freebie of some sort.
See, that
I want to hear
goes.
what y'all say before I
That
talk.
goes into a whole different conversation of blackness.
I will let y'all speak before I talk.
I agree, Cameron, that it does because I don't even feel like I don't have the capacity to say who should get what, who shouldn't get what, and I don't feel like I have the right to. So I can't. My brain, I can't.
Well,
even
someone
fathom it.
has to.
I know.
But for me, it is a direct lineage to enslaved people. So while there are people who are black in America who have immigrated here, I think there's a difference between my ancestors were brought here against their will versus you immigrated here from somewhere else, not against your will or for your will or whatever, for another reason that aside from you being dragged here.
Right.
Okay,
And
so
I hear that.
my
but
question to you,
how do you find?
yeah, my question to you is: say we do all that, right, and we find out that out of the 4 of us sitting here right now, 3 of us have direct lineage to those descendants, and you don't, and we get paid, and you don't, but you still deal with the hardships of being
100%.
black in
That's the
America.
thing, because that
But you're-
contradicts your point of they need to pay for Jim Crows and stuff.
Exactly.
With some of
No,
them
I
been
think
affected by.
I think that's an effect of slavery. I think we are paying for slavery.
Would you get a different?
When I
form
talk
of
about
reparations?
when I talk about reparations in terms of slavery, I am talking about slavery. Yes, those all things happened. It doesn't go against my point. Those things happened as an effect of slavery, so we are paying for slavery. So if I didn't get it, for example, the 3 of you guys did, my thing is, yes, I'd be upset about it. I wouldn't be happy about it. But also, the government is they are repaying for slavery specifically. My ancestors didn't experience slavery in this example. And so my issue is with wherever the fuck I came from.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I might not think it's fair. I might not be happy about it, but I think reparations is for a specific wrongdoing, and I think Jim Crow and all those are effects and
Of that
wrongdoing. But we're not paying for that. That's just a after effect.
That's fair what you said, Nate. But the one thing that if you're saying direct descendants of slavery, our history is not well documented.
Correct,
They weren't
yeah,
keeping
true.
great
Yeah.
records of who were slaves. People were killed off left and
Killed,
right.
changed their
Yeah.
name.
A lot of people died on the
Totally.
journey here,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So then what do you know what I mean? Like, it's just.
But so then my thing is, I don't disagree with that, and you're absolutely right. I think that's the argument that people will say of why we shouldn't even deal with reparations. It's too large a number. We don't know all the history. We can't find them. And so I don't disagree with you in terms of all of that. But I also think, again, the government should try to fix it.
So how did the Jews do it? How did they figure?
Well, they were alive.
It was
the
like,
Japanese. They were alive.
It was like people who experienced it.
Right, because it was like actually the people
or direct descendants. So it wasn't like my grandma wasn't a slave, and like my great grandma probably wasn't a slave, but my great grandma probably a slave. But like I haven't done the lessons. But like for Japanese, it would have been like my grandma was a slave, my dad got paid,
or I was,
or I was.
I was in the camp.
In a camp and whatever. Like that's what it was. Or I experienced whatever it was.
So what we gonna agree on? Because
I think we do agree on a few things.
Yeah, I think we agreed on apology and some formal acknowledgement, right? And we also agreed on. Do you kind of agree on education? Once I said the whole like
I'm fine. I can't say anything free, so I'm like, shoot, let's go with it.
I'm gonna tell you now,
right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I think it's like one of the best ways, like education and healthcare for Black people. It still goes into the main problem. It's proving it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like for who is the main problem in this situation? Like, do biracial people count? Do Barack Obama count? And some people always say like, do Oprah count? She's rich. Should she get another check? Do she need another check?
I didn't think about the
right. Did Beyonce and Jay-Z get a check?
They don't need checks. I think if they have descendants personally, that they should get checks and they will do with it what they want. If I don't need a check and I'm a billionaire and I have a direct descendant, give a fucking check. It don't matter because it's the same.
But that's where I feel like the certain things like that, if it's a free education, just like that, that's where kind of it's
levels of playing field.
Yeah, because it's like. They might use that, they might go to school or whatever, but it's not like they're getting a check. And then also, I don't feel comfortable. Like, let me give you poor Black person, let's say. I'm not saying all Black people are poor, but poor Black person who's already been set back, way further behind than everyone, who hasn't been given the skill set to know what to do with that money. I don't feel like you're doing them any good. You know what I mean? I want you to give them the tools that they can. It's like they say, like, you give a man a fish, right?
So
like, he can eat for the day.
Like
teach him how to fish.
It sounds to me like the stimulus check argument about who gets stimulus check and
that's what. Stimulus check. And on that note, sorry, I do want to continue the conversation, and we can continue the conversation.
I'm just saying, it sounds very similar, Lauren.
Okay, that's fine. Anyways, drop your comments below in Instagram, YouTube, wherever. Let us know what.
Not wherever. You forgot that fast.
No, I'm gonna get to that. Let us know what reparations you want. Do you want the 40 acres and a mule? Do you want the education? Do you want that STEMI? Let us know. Remember to like, subscribe, click that link.
It's a stimulus to the Black economy.
Yeah.
Follow us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can follow us at Next Topic Podcast. You can follow me at CoolKeys, CoolKeyes.
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Shads_space. That's SHADS_SPACE.
You can follow me on everything at Clicks by Cam. That's KLICKSBYKM.
You can follow me at Nate Blackout. Soon to be the real Nate Blackout, but not yet.
You said that a year ago.
You did.
I'm gonna change it one of these days.
Okay.
That's it. That's all. Toodaloo.
Not to the who.